really an interesting graph to look at. But this is where the city of Taylor ranks among other communities with regards to its tax rate. And what this is the homestead tax rate, so it does not include the 18 mills for school operating. But as you can see, we're more towards the left side or the lower side, so that's good. This also does not include any potential increase for the school debt that was approved by the voters at the last election. We don't have an idea exactly what that amount is yet, and I don't think they're going to be have that millage for this tax year anyways. But just keep that in mind, whatever that comes to, that it will increase this total millage because the debt millage is assessed to all property. Moving forward to page 13. Page 14 is just a graph chart that discusses the different revenues. As you can see, it breaks down the tax revenue. So as you can see, the biggest is our general operating and our police and fire retirement. Police and fire retirement, which includes the Act 345 liability for the city, which is police and firemen's pensions and retiree health care. That's approximately 34% of our tax levy, while our general operating is sitting at 32.4% of our tax levy.
Do we have a projection with the current contracts what that rate will be, say, over the next 20, 30 years? Is this, again, from previously being on the council, right, we now have our millage rate exceeds the entire budget for the general operating. So I think at one point in time it was 1 mil, 2 mil, 4.5. Now it's more than the general operating. So do we have a graph that shows what the projections are, life expectancy, contracts, that are in place? So if you go back 20 years ago, pension funds were fully funded, so we did not have to levy these fees. So,
Well, currently we don't have a 20-year estimate. We kind of usually look at a 5-year rolling to just kind of assess, making sure that the millage is enough to cover plus any type of reserves to cover what the potential liabilities will be. I know that we do have the current assessment from the actuary that was given to us for the required contribution. So we can look at maybe see if they have 20-year figures in there and do that projection, see how it looks, but that's out there.
Jason, on page 12, that 50.89, does that include the police and fire retirement?
It does.
Thank you.
well, the idea is, again, having that projection. Of course, if we ever decide to go, just having that projection, because I think as you go into negotiations, understanding what the actuarial math, what the implications are, right? So when the police and fire was originally at, say, 30 and out, and you change that to 25, actuarially, that changed things going forward. When you went from 25 being able to 20 now, understand the overall picture within this, but I think that should be, and these are our obligations, right? Just to be clear, these are you can't unring the bell, nor am I trying to, but within the overall budget, as you mentioned, it's 9 mils out of 26 total.
Yeah, and to that point, Chairman, and if there is a contract with a pension benefit or a modifier, by law we have to have an actual study done to see what that cost would be. So,
Thank you.
all right, page 14 talks about now our revenues in the general fund, not just our taxes but all revenue. As you can see, our largest revenue source is from taxes at 26.7%. Followed by our state sharing revenue from state, which is right at about 18.9%. And then we have some charges for services as well as other revenue related to fund reimbursements, things like that. 14% of the revenue is estimated to come from fines and forfeitures, the court fines and forfeitures. So this graph just really, puts into perspective of what the major revenue sources is for the city's general revenue fund.
Is there a reason to believe, if you look at your projected budget, that this year's, where we had to dip into the rainy day fund by $3 million? What are the major items that you're basing that our revenues this year will increase by 6.4%? So if you look at the 2021 actual, it was 42.3 million. This year's projected is 41.9, and we are over budget by 3 million. The last for basically this up until this budget comes in. So you're projecting 6+% above the last 2 years.
And Chairman, if I may, we will go over some of those details in a little bit.
Okay.
If you want, if you can wait for then?
Yep, we'll do.
Yep. And we get
And
to the
if
graphs.
any question comes up, says we're getting to it, then I'm fine with that.
Okay, so that's the graph that takes the revenue sources, and then the next graph on page 15 is the opposite, where it talks about the expenditures by activity. As you can see, the largest expense for general fund, approximately 40%, is public safety, and then the second largest, 32%, is general government, and the next would be the public works, so and so forth. Page 16 is the expenditures by type. So as you can see, the largest, we're a service organization. That's what the city is. So obviously, the largest portion of your budget by type will be your wages and benefits. And you can see there that 57% of the general fund expenditures are wages and benefits. And then you have your other services, which include professional services, contractual services, and items of that nature. Okay. So that being said, just wanted to go over those brief items on the detailed summary overview. And now what we do is we go over some of the other documents, and then we'll go through the changes and things like that in more depth before we get to the next department. All right. So to go over this documentation that you have in front of you, you have 3 documents that were given to you, and I'll give you guys PDF copies. The first document is what we call the budget with historical reports. So what this is the first 2 pages, which aren't numbered, but the first 2 pages gives you the summary of general fund. And then the rest of the document is all the details in the general fund and all the other funds. It gives you also 5 years of actual data, so that when you're reviewing the information for this year's budget and next year's, fiscal year 22 and fiscal year 23 budget amendments, you will see that this document is a very helpful document. You're going to be referring to this document a lot. The next document, what is in legal size, is the wages and benefit worksheets. So all the departments requested current FTE versus, budget FTE for next year. All that information is in this document. There's a table of contents. You got pages on there, but it's a pretty good document to refer to when you want to look at the wages and benefits in the department. And then the last one, this thicker document, which is in letter size, this is what we call the supporting detail. So what this document is all the accounts that you see in the detail, all the backup that departments want to put in there, like, for example, budget and finance, contractual services, what does that make up that number? I'll put in there audit costs, actuary costs, all that detail is broken down in this thick document as well, too, for each department. So, and again, when we're talking to the departments, we may be referring to this document a little bit as well, too, so that you can see the details in the document. Okay, so moving on to, I'm going to refer to this budget document history now. to now is just going to go over a brief overview now of the changes in the general fund. What it is that in that documentation, on the first 2 pages that are not numbered, this is the general fund budget summary. So we're going to go over some of the changes between the fiscal year 22 amended budget and then the fiscal year 23 mayor's proposed budget.
Which one is that, Jason?
It's in the budget with historical data. It's the first 2 pages that are not, they're not numbered.
Okay.
Yep. It says general fund in the upper left-hand corner.
101.
101 general fund.